Every year I hope this microphone turns on, and for 2024 it looks like it's another year where I'm able to talk to you about the wonders that is the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The largest arts festival on the planet is about to descend once more on Scotland's capital city, and once more I'm going to bring you a flavour of the Fringe through the increasingly obviously titled Edinburgh Fringe Podcast. Hello, I'm Ewan Spence. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome once more to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe Podcast. First started, we can do the old-fashioned, established 2005, and bringing you the flavour of the Fringe every single year that the Fringe has been running since then. Cannot get all the shows in, 2,000 shows, 3,000 shows, 4,000 shows, but what I can do is let you feel what the Fringe is all about. Look, there are some things that happen every year, and our sort of kick the tires episode is the RSS feed going, make sure everything's up to date is the opening podcast. A chance to catch my breath, to remind me what the passwords and the logins are for all the websites, and to welcome you once more to another year of the Fringe Podcast. You've found this sound file, this audio, wherever it is. If you have a look in the ID3 tag, you will find a link back to our website. If you aren't already there, it's edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. We're in the various podcast app services directories and Spotify. If you search for Edinburgh Fringe Podcast, Ewan Spence will probably get you there as well. You probably it's going to be the one under Richard Herring's Fringe Podcast, which is so much star power, it's still number one in the searches, even though it's not been here for about 6 or 7 years. But there we go. We all have our crosses to bear and our traditional jokes to remind you of. Of course, there is another one of those traditions coming up in a moment. But yes, it is July. The Fringe is, I think it's about 3 weeks away now as I record this. We've got some press previews going on beforehand, so it does get a little bit it isn't off then on. It's this sort of grand build-up, which is what we're going to do on the podcast as well. Check everything works today. We'll have an episode next week where I think I'll be talking to Chris Grace about what the Fringe means to him as a performer, what it was like the first time he came to the Fringe, and why he keeps coming back. After that, we will speak to one of the venue managers from Just the Tonic. It's Darryl Martin, telling us a little bit more about what it means to run a venue at the Fringe. How do the shows get on that stage? How are they curated? How is it organised? What does it take to run a venue at the Fringe? And then we'll be into the Fringe. Then I'll be sitting at the press previews. I'll be seeing the shows coming in. The flyers will be coming in. The posters, the personal recommendations. At some point, I will tell you the rule of three once more, but let's not do all the traditions in one breath. I'll keep you up to date as best I can with all the news from the Fringe. Just the headlines, because we're getting close to 3,500 shows here at Edinburgh. I can't give you what happened at every single one, but I can give you, as I said at the top there, just a flavour of the Fringe. What's it like to be in Edinburgh? And with that smooth link, those sort of wonderful links that you've come to know and love from myself over the decades, Daniel Cainer's What's It Like to Be in Edinburgh, a tune that he wrote for us nearly 20 years ago, just thinking about Edinburgh, thinking about the flavour, thinking about exactly what we do at the podcast. Well, we have a theme tune, which we always have to thank Need Firewar. If you need your rock and roll bagpipes and you're in Texas, that's who I would recommend. We also have our anthem as well, and it comes from Daniel. Daniel thankfully continues to come to the Fringe, which means I can plug his show this year, Daniel Cainer's Jewish Chronicles, stories and songs at the Underbelly's Weeku at 1:20 every lunchtime right through until August the 26th. Tickets are available through the box office and his own website. We will have links to both of those on our website, edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. But as we always do at this time of year, we like to remember ourselves, what's it like to be in Edinburgh? From Daniel Cainer.
What's it like to be in Edinburgh at this time of year? There's certainly a hell of a lot going on round here. 2,500 shows to see at any given time, and some are frankly awful, some are great, and then there's mine. And each of us thinks that ours is the best in the history of mankind. It's like a cruise that never moves. That's what it's like to be in Edinburgh. What's it like to be in Edinburgh and put on your little show? You work so hard to get it there, but nobody wants to go, despite the 10,000 flyers and the posters you've had done. There are no ticket buyers, save your sister and your mum. And if you hadn't paid for their hotel and their train, then even they wouldn't have come. An average annual wage buys half a stage. That's what it's like to be in Edinburgh. What's it like to be in Edinburgh? Are you nothing but a crack whore? And though you should know better, you keep coming back for more. Out on the Royal Mile, it's a ticker tape parade. And each night in the gutter, there's your crumpled face displayed. And there's nothing you won't do for a Scotsman review that you wouldn't do anyway. And it is what it is. It's just showbiz. It's what we like. What are we like? That's what it's like to be in Edinburgh.
Daniel Cainer once more reminding us what Edinburgh is all about. And yes, some of those references are dated and some of those numbers are smaller, but that is what it's like to be at Edinburgh this time of year. And the other tradition that I know many of you have is to have a podcast coming with you as you either go round Edinburgh itself or just sit at home and think, maybe one day I'll get there. Maybe one day I'll get back. That's the Edinburgh Fringe Podcast. I'm Ewan Spence. Thanks very much for joining in for our very first episode 0 of 2024. Come join me for the rest of August. You've been listening to the Edinburgh Fringe Show, hosted by Ewan Spence, produced by The Podcast Corner. Listen to more from The Fringe at edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com.